Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us again for another edition of Loeries Creative Hour. First, I'm going to say hi to Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Thanks
Hey,
for joining us.
how you doing, man?
All good, all good. So good to have you here with us. If everyone doesn't know, Kevin's based out in the USA, so it's pretty early there, hey? Just about 7:05 or so.
Absolutely, but I've got a coffee, so we all good.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start. Just thank you to everyone who got their Loeries entries in. As you all know, entries closed last week and we're overwhelmed by the number of amazing submissions that we received. So thank you to everyone who entered. Looking forward to going through the processing period and then finally being able to actually go through the judging. So look out for that. We'll keep more information coming through. Also, just a reminder to everyone joining us on Facebook, thank you so much for making the time and joining us on Facebook Live. As a reminder, we do not have the ability to actually see your questions directly, but please feel free to share your questions or comments on Facebook, and Clocky from the Loeries will be able to pass that on to us. Also, to everyone joining us on the call today, thank you so much. I'm sorry, there's a bit of knocking in the background. Hopefully that's not too loud. Just to say hello to a few people really, really quickly. Crystal Felsman, Michelle Jadim, Ngozi Kanisa, Paul de Klerk, Petra Peacock, Robin Phillips, some Kelly Monikali, and just everyone else who's made the time to join us on Zoom today. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. If you do want to share anything on Zoom, just remember, please share it via the chat function and obviously the Q&A function. But today, I think the key thing is to give Kevin as much time to chat. Just a short introduction. Kevin Swanepoel is the CEO of the One Club for Creativity. He's no stranger to the region, having come from Durban, South Africa, having left us to move on to the US, where he's worked at major organizations such as Apple, the One Club for Creativity. Kevin has a strong track record of success in driving growth and value in multiple organizations and has done some amazing work. I think everyone who's joining knows him and the amazing work he's doing at the One Club for Creativity. Kevin, thank you so much for making the time and early in the morning and on your side of the world.
Preetesh, thanks so much for having me, man. It's really fantastic to get back and to chat to the audience, not just in South Africa, but all of Africa and MEA. So, welcome, guys. And really just want to keep this as an open conversation. So if you've got any questions, just drop them in the chat and we'll try and answer them as best as we can.
I completely agree, because I know it's so difficult. I think it's difficult having access to you just purely because time and time constraints. So this is a wonderful opportunity to ask Kevin any questions that you have and just keep the discussion going. But firstly, Kevin, how are you keeping? How are things? How is creativity on that side of the world first? Is it still going strong? What's been the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and what have you been seeing and the trends on that side?
It's a little embarrassing because as an organization, we have been just so blessed. And we've seen some other organizations struggle during COVID, and we've seen a lot of companies and people taking some serious hits during COVID. And really, our heart goes out to those people who are really struggling with it. As an organization, we've been very, very fortunate. We have thrived. We've actually had our 2 best years in the organization's history. So it's a little tough to be saying, hey, this is such a joyous time for us, but we really do thank and support, thank all the creatives out there and the agencies and people out there for supporting the One Club. Most importantly, one of the things that happened to us at the start of COVID was we have an office in China. So I was talking to my team in China, and very clearly up front, we was under no illusion that this was going to be a serious event. So we took the very bold step of early on turning around and saying that we're going to move our judging online, and that we were going to cancel the show, and at least make it a virtual event. And it was funny because we did have some people who opposed that view pretty openly, and they said I was just doing the wrong thing. I was overreacting to this. But history will show that we did the right thing, and it certainly has just been a horrific event globally. I think the biggest thing is that our mission is to support and celebrate the global creative community. So that's one of the lenses that I went into COVID with is, how do we turn this around. We've got, the headlines were just horrific. 53,000 people were laid off in the advertising industry in the US. And that's not even globally. That is the US alone. And, I started thinking and trying to work out what could we do as an organization to help support the industry, because that's our mission. And the amazing thing happened from our membership team. Justin, who headed our membership team, he came to me and all our corporate members, some of them were reaching out to him and saying, hey, yeah, you see the headlines, but we just won a major account and we are searching for talent. Can you help us find some talent? So the first thing we did was we took down our jobs board. So this is a paying jobs board that we earn money as an organization. And our membership team says, let's make this free jobs board. And just let people know that these jobs are actually out there and you can hire, if you've been laid off, you can apply for these. So that's something we did. It was a very low-fi thing. It was a Google spreadsheet to start off with. And then it just blew up, and the crazy thing is that we had some people who wrote back to me and said, we wanted to hire one person and we ended up hiring 3 because the quality of the applications was so good. And, so I think we were the first to sort of really, how do we help fix this thing, And I think the agencies and the creatives stood up and took notice. So that was like one of the major things that we started off with. And then we rolled out a number of other programs just behind that,
And tell me about the work on your side and what you've been seeing, because obviously you get a huge catchment of work from around the world and what you're looking at. How have you find that the creative community is actually adapting to the challenges of the COVID-19 environment, but not just from an idea perspective, but bringing it into the actual execution and being able to go out and actually produce that work?
The first thing that everybody thought is that the quality of work would suffer dramatically during COVID times. Just like, well, you can't shoot properly. You can't be on location and you can't do the film production in the old way. and that's very true. So, everybody was like hustling and coming up with really good creative ideas on how do we do shoots where you can't travel. One of our board members does the Hong Kong ballet, Pumla for Beer. And what's amazing is people have worked this shit out. They can now do a shoot, art direct, and she's a crazy designer. So she's sort of like hyper hands-on. So this idea of shooting remotely is just not in her wheelhouse. She wants to be like the micromanager on set, but what she's managed to do is just incredible. She's been able to do these long distance shoots, and I think most of the industry have as well. They've got around the fact that, okay, you can't travel, so how do we improvise? And it always makes me smile, because I always think back to a boer makaplan. It's like in South Africa, it's like when you couldn't get shit done, okay, boer makaplan, just you're gonna fathom it out no matter what. And so it's just a lovely thing to see that the industry is certainly overcoming the inconveniences and the restrictions of international travel and gathering and all those things. Initially one started seeing all ads sort of looking similar, and then you sort of it was just people gathering momentum and finding ways around it. But it soon turned into some incredible work, like some of the craft that we've seen over this period of time, like from Nike and the likes. This year it's just been phenomenal.
I mean, also, speaking about craft and having a look at that, one of the things we've seen is obviously with all the fear that came in with COVID-19 and consumers being so impacted, it ultimately flows onto brands not getting as much money and not being able to spend that on creative work. I mean, how has this impacted the quality of the creative work? I mean, are we sitting at a point right now where it's setting the precedent for creative work to have much smaller budgets than ever before, or do you think we'll be able to rebound post this phase?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that the budgets on specific pieces of work have been cut. I think we've seen pressure on budgets from brands. but I think it's just really a reallocation of resources. And as I was saying, in the early days of COVID, certainly we saw brands uncertain of the future, and so the first thing that they did was starting to cut back, and with that came the sort of wave of layoffs and cutbacks in the ad industry as well. But it was very, very quick that brands realized that they were going to do okay. And when you start looking at the likes of the Nikes and major brands that have just prospered during this time, it's the incidental sort of companies, not those essential companies. It's the travel and leisure. It's the theaters and stadiums and live entertainment, and all that type of company and support has really taken a hit on the chin. They were non-essential as such. So a lot of that stuff was cut back, and I think it'll come back very, very slowly. Even now that we are about 47% vaccinated here in the US, slowly we're starting to see stuff open up, but it's certainly nowhere near it. When you look at like the support crew, like the roadies and the people who were supporting all these types of events, they are the ones that have really, struggled and felt it. The bigger brands, not so much. In fact, the bigger brands have done an incredible job of working out how do you do D2C and that relationship between the customer and the brand. So, I think that the allocation of funds will tilt back, but it might not come completely back, because some of the D2C stuff that brands are doing, they're going to continue to do because it's just more profitable for them.
I mean, also the other thing that's interesting for brands as well during this time is obviously there's this concern in terms of profit, but strangely enough, they found that one of the things that's really important in terms of that profit was to focus a lot on purpose. And there's a lot of purpose-led work that was coming out. So speak to me about what you've been seeing about brands who've been focusing on this.
I actually have seen this trend, and we've seen it all. We've all seen this trend for many years, and it actually got to a point where I was walking out of the one show one late night, and Mark Tutzel at the time turned around to me and said, like, "What the hell, man? It's like every single big winner was, some purpose-driven thing or some non-profit thing. When are we going to get back to marketing, widgets for brands, and not just be about purpose?" And he was right at the time. It was a trend that was really developing, and it has developed and matured, I believe. But it's still, we're seeing a lot of work that comes in, which is purpose-driven work by brands. And if you haven't seen these works, I'll actually post some links and stuff like that later on. But one of the ones that really spoke to me a few years back, which was, I wouldn't say it was leading a trend, but it was one that I already noticed, and I thought that it was just such an incredible piece of work, was the Palau Pledge. And the little island nation of Palau, which has got this most incredible ecosystem and the small islands, all over the region, they were having a real tough time where visitors would come and destroy the reefs and pollute and leave stuff and garbage everywhere. And it just takes the creativity of a small number of really good thinking creatives to come up with a great solution. And what they did was they put together this pledge that when you entered Palau, they stamped this in your passport, bam. And you as a visitor had to sign the pledge. And, actually putting a signature to something saying that you're going to be mindful of the ecosystem and be mindful of damaging the reefs and dropping plastic and stuff like that, I think is an incredible thing. It just made you physically commit to looking after, their country, which is so beautiful.
What's useful is mentioning that maybe it's useful for everyone to get a feel of that and see like the overall video. So I've got this. Let's share this really, really quickly.
Human impact on Earth's environment is one of the biggest challenges facing the world today. The small island nation of Palau in the Pacific Ocean was feeling these impacts acutely. Tourists were damaging reefs, littering oceans and poaching protected species, their careless behaviour magnified by large numbers. But how could a small local population with limited resources police the high volume of visitors? What if we made the tourists police themselves? Introducing the Palau Pledge, a first-of-its-kind immigration policy for good. All visitors now need to sign an environmental pledge to gain admittance into Palau. Stamped into the passport of international arrivals, the pledge is a formal promise to Palau's children.
Children of Palau,
I take this pledge
to preserve and protect your beautiful and unique island home.
To implement this policy, government, the tourist industry and citizens were brought together. A new visa entry stamp was designed and issued in multiple languages, and immigration processes were changed.
The jolt that comes with the pledge is the recognition that, hey, I can make a difference.
But we didn't stop at the passport stamp. We redesigned the tourism experience, ensuring tourists and locals were empowered via a website, a compulsory in-flight film, a passport insert, collateral, and signage and penalties for bad behaviour. Launched at the UN, the Palau Pledge has been praised by international leaders and groups. Influencers helped inspire people to take the pledge online in solidarity with Palau. The Palau Pledge has raised global awareness of the responsibility this generation has to the next. But its biggest impact is local in Palau.
I hope my children can see the beautiful place one day as I see today.
Yeah, and that's such a fantastic example to just have a look at the work, because it does not come across to the average person as an ad campaign or as a piece of creativity in truth. It looks like a social cause, but in truth, what you're actually doing is getting people to think differently about the space that they're interacting with and the people they're interacting with, and ensuring that there's some sort of sustainability. So yeah, that's an amazing, amazing example. I mean, when we actually look at examples like this, and as you said, you had that discussion with somebody who says, hey, can't we go back to a different generation of creativity? But I think what's really useful in terms of the creative industry and the space we're moving into right now, it really is about getting a lot closer into the heart of what people care about, isn't it? It's almost a change from a very scientific approach to giving you the logical reason why you should be interacting with something and trying to be more emotional with somebody outside of the area that the brand impacts. Would you say that's what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. I think the thing for me is when you have a look and see that, brands know that consumers are voting with their wallet, and at the stage of the game, either you are on the right side or on the wrong side of either a political issue or the likes. And, if you have a look at, let's just say the Nike Dream Crazy stuff with Colin Kaepernick, here was somebody who was like just really out there, saying like, the injustices that have been done to Black people in America due to police brutality and the way that the police just either arrest or detain people. He took a knee on the biggest stage, which is the American football stage, and it was crazy because he would not just stand during the anthem, but he put his knee down, and his biggest supporter, which is Nike, stood by him, which is pretty crazy, because here is the opportunity for a brand to either go with the movement, which they believe is culturally the right thing to do, or they could just say nothing and rather just withdraw their sponsorship for him. It was pretty amazing because you saw people getting into a rage just over the brand, and there were people who clearly thought differently and were burning their shoes, as opposed to the movement changed, because initially it was one of outrage by people and about Nike for supporting this movement, and then this sort of momentum switched, which was pretty interesting, I thought. But it takes I'm going to use the term, it takes some balls for a brand to like actually have, you know, and, you know, it could be either side of the coin, but, you know, I think know your audience and stand by them if you believe in it, you know, even if it costs you.
Yeah, I think, you know, the way I look at it as well for a number of brands is what they don't realize is they're active players in the lives of people. And lots of brands forget this. They forget that when somebody is sitting right now, and you and I are sitting and having a chat, my MacBook is part of this conversation. My Rode mic is part of this conversation. The pen I'm using, those brands that try and integrate into our lives should understand that they're not just integrated for the purposes of getting to our lives, but being active participants in it. And I think that's what I'm going to play this case study, because I think that's what Nike really got right. Because, and I should tell you, Kevin, like sitting on this side of the world, it always amazes us. And I've had this conversation with lots of people, how insane it is, the stories of Black Americans being shot, being killed. And it's come close to home. We had a South African living in Hawaii. And I mean, if anyone hasn't seen it, I mean, it's absolutely insane. You see this gentleman who goes there, and the story is that he actually mistook the property for a Hare Krishna temple. You see him taking off his shoes and trying to go in, and then realizing there's a mistake. But just because of, I don't know, I don't even think anyone can actually figure it out, he lost his life. And I therefore think it's such an important conversation why brands need to get involved. And let's have a look at what Nike did in this case.
Several people posting videos on social media burning Nike shoes.
Nike is running straight into a political controversy.
People are so angry they're burning their own shoes.
Colin Kaepernick refused to stand during the national anthem, taking a knee to protest police brutality. The athlete, who's been unsigned since 2017, returning to the spotlight in September.
Nike revealed Colin Kaepernick as the face of its latest marketing campaign.
The ad reads, "Believe in something."
Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
I'm shocked.
Is Nike taking a risk?
I think they're taking a stand, and I love that.
They might lose business.
Tonight, the first game of the new season, and Nike is running an ad featuring Colin Kaepernick.
If people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way.
Every family, if not most of this country, was talking about this last night at their dinner table.
Growing backlash against Nike.
Angry fans have been calling for a boycott.
Nike's stock today dropping over 3%.
And I'm never buying another Nike product again.
Who's going to win this cultural showdown of standing for the anthem? We are.
Check this out. I went out today and bought me some Nikes.
Oh, yeah. It is everything that Nike has stood for. Be the best. Do it. Just do it.
I want to applaud Nike. Speak up. We're right behind you. These are not dark times. These are awakening times.
I'm going to buy more Nikes now.
I will always support Nike.
I stand for anybody that believe in change.
To me, this is all right place, right time, right on time.
Burn your shoes, you dummies!
And this thing is bigger than just the United States, and I think it resonates throughout the world.
Kaepernick assegura que es
Alors, Colin Kaepernick, c'est un jeune homme de 30 ans.
Just do it.
Nike stock reached an all-time high last Friday.
I would applaud them.
I think Nike's on the right side of history.
So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
But Preetesh, yes, one thing here is, at that stage, Nike stock was at like $67. It's now at $160, okay? And sure, they've done other things. They've done the sort of direct-to-consumer during COVID and that. But, you know, the reality is that they took a stand on a really hot, sensitive topic, but they were the right side of the argument here, you know.
Yeah. I think Spike Lee summed it up perfectly. He says Nike is on the right side of history here. And I've had this discussions as well with some people. And you know, there's always the strategist in the room who goes, what in case you take a stand and it backfires? That's what everyone's worried about. Because again, if you run an organization that's a commercial organization, it's always about total shareholder return. How do you take care of your shareholders in this process? And I think it really comes down to this. It's this simple. If you stand for human rights and basic human values, you will always be on the right side and you will always ensure that your business is on the right trajectory. But if you stand on the wrong side of human rights and human values, you're on the losing side. And I think that's what Nike absolutely gets at the core and the fundamental heart of that organization, which is why it resonates with all of us.
Yeah, you know, it's something that we have thought long and hard about because, you know, we have a competition called Young Ones. And we have some incredible work sent in from schools from all over the world. And right now, the person who heads our education department is trans, and they received this letter from a graduate from a school who went to the school, and the school is openly against gay and all sorts of things. It's a very religious type school, and and they really make it tough for these young students who go to the school and who are openly gay and the likes. So we got this letter, which was just like, and the school won the best school of the year this year. You know, it was just phenomenal. The work that they put out every single year is just incredible. But we got this letter from a old alum who wrote to us and said, you know, how tough it was being at that school. And now it's really even more difficult to see how well the school's doing, but nobody's paying attention to their practices and how they restrict the young students in the school. So this is something that we brought up with our board, is what do we do? Because, you know, we have a lot of entries from the school, and how do we now allow them to enter and reward the students, but not give the school the credit for what they stand for and how they treat people who are not, you know, just like them. So it's a very tough thing, and you know, in our last board meeting, the same conversation came up, and one of the board members said, you know, exactly what it was on that dream crazy spot. You know, it's not a value if it doesn't cost you something, and if you aren't going to stand up for it and say, hey, you know, we'll rather not take the money from them, and we'll not rather have the entries, but we want to stand by people having their ability and the rights to openly be gay or trans, or, you know, just be different. You know, just we are behind that because our organization is very diverse. You know, we have an incredibly diverse board. We started a free portfolio school for Black creatives because that's the right thing to do, because, you know, it's difficult for young creatives of color to be able to go to university and then you come out of university and somebody says, oh, you want to get into that industry? Well, you need a portfolio, so you should go to portfolio school. Oh, and by the way, that's another $40,000, you know? So, you know, during COVID, we started up this free portfolio school for Black creatives, and it's done incredibly well. We've already had one whole cohort that's come through. We graduated 30 incredibly talented young Black creatives, and we've just taken on another 60. We've expanded to 4 different schools. So, this is something that we're doing and putting our resources behind our pure beliefs that this industry has to get more diverse. It has to support the minorities. I know Blacks aren't a minority in South Africa, they're a majority, but they're a minority within the advertising and creative departments. So, that's why we've done the boot camps in South Africa for many years. It's something I'm dying to get back to South Africa and host the boot camps again, because we opened the eyes to about 200 young students each year doing the boot camps in Johannesburg and Cape Town. And just great support from our partners, Woolworths, that have been with us for many years, supporting that initiative. But it's something that I can't wait to get back and travel to South Africa and do, because, for us, it's important to make this impact and help diversity wherever it is, in India, China, South Africa, or the US.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. And I think you read, sometimes sitting in the Africa Middle East region, we look at diversity challenges and we go, okay, our region has some serious challenges. And then it's scary when you look at headlines that say that, out of the 100 most awarded creatives in the world, only 8 are women. That's just on one metric, which is just looking at women, just on gender alone. The 100 most awarded creatives world, only 8 are women. And I think there's so much work to be done. I mean, one of the things that we're also looking at is how do we actually get greater awareness of it? Because I think even within our region, it's not top of mind for many people to go, I want to go into the creative industry. You're consuming ads, you understand it's out there, but it's just such a block to say that there's an opportunity for you to go out there. I'm going to read something really quickly. One of our friends, Anne Newrock, was saying in research that Accenture recently conducted, 47% of consumers said that they will pay more for brands that are playing a positive role in society, particularly during COVID. And I think that's so true. I think we find that brands who are not purely just taking care of themselves, but really are going, we're a responsible citizen that wants to take care of the environments in which we play, are truly brands that we resonate with. They have a personality that's equal to a human personality. And you're right, Anne, I think that's so important. Also, Kev, you're mentioning, sorry, you're saying?
I was going to just say, on that point, and when I started off, I said, how blessed we've been. And I think the creative community has embraced us for being proactive. And, during this COVID time, we looked at how do we do portfolio reviews for young kids? How do we do internships for young kids? Because they can't go into the office. They can't get their portfolios reviewed. They can't get those internships. So this last 18 months, we've been building systems and we've been helping those young individuals. We've been helping the agencies do the internships. And it's been interesting because, it's almost a similar thing where our organization is prospered because we haven't been looking after ourselves. We've been looking after the industry. How do we get people jobs? How do we, get more diversity into the industry? How do we find these young students who have studied for 3 or 4 years, coming and graduating, and now are left with nothing because there's no junior jobs, there's no internships. So, that's been our sort of creative activism for us. How do we, change things? And so anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
Sorry, I got muted there for a second. Just on that, that's perfect. I got a question from Robin Phillips, who's one of our Loeries Youth Committee members, which is one of our initiatives supporting youth and young creatives in the industry itself. And Robin asked, as an organization, how do you balance what you speak out about and when you stay silent? So a good example is Pride recently. So many brands got backlash for speaking out about it, especially if they haven't been actively doing anything about it within the company. Many do it for the awards. What are your thoughts?
I'll tell you now, I've got a really strong opinion on this. And I'm going to just cite something that goes back actually 11 years. So we as an organization have somebody on our board and in fact, you guys would know him. He's been there. Jimmy Smith, very big black African-American, basketball player, tall dude. So him and Jeff Goodby from Goodby Silverstein and Partners, really, really famous creative here, did all the Got Milk stuff. Anyway, Jeff was having this Christmas party, and in Goodby, there was one black person on staff in the entire company, one black person. And it was funny because Jimmy was there at the party, but this guy turned around and said, hey, Jeff, we're all black people. And so Jimmy and Jeff got together and said, like, shit, we should do something around this. And they decided, it was Creative Week was happening in New York, and they said, can we do a panel discussion around where all the black people? So we said, fine. So we did this. And we were very naive, okay? We thought, oh, this is great. We've got Jimmy and we've got Jeff. Why don't we have some open mics? And we had 400 people come to this thing. And we had mics everywhere that people could, after the presentation, they could get up and stand and ask questions. And this one young guy got up and he said, and he just railed into Jeff and to Jimmy and said, like, what the hell? I've brought you my book, you never hired me. And they just absolutely ripped them both a new one. And I decided then, as an organization, we will never just talk about something, but we will rather do something which is positive to bring about change. And so after that, year 2, and now we're in our 11th year, we've turned it into a career fair where we fly creatives from around America to New York. We fly them up, we give them a flight, we give them a hotel, and we get them a job interview, or they get their books reviewed. They do workshops with all the agencies. The reason is that I don't want to just give something lip service, because you will get crushed in social media. You'll get crushed for getting out there and doing a little, thing on your website, which talks about, how you support them, but then you absolutely do nothing. So the first thing I'd say to any brand or any organization, think about what are you going to actively do to bring about change as opposed to just speaking about it. And there was a crazy statistic where there was an organization just recently who had asked people to come out against, anti-LGBTQ, and they had all signed this pledge to get people, diverse people, in their boards and in their management. And of the, I think, 27 agencies that had signed the pledge, now less than 50% were on that site and on the pledge because they hadn't stood up to it, and they had withdrawn because they just didn't, achieve the goal that was set out there. So I think be careful about trying to jump on a bandwagon and just, give it lip service, because you'll be called out. What we want to see is people who are authentic in their beliefs. And, something that we did was, we did put out a statement about Stop Hate, because we had that incident where so many of these Asian people had been killed at, in America. And one of our board members said, like, why don't we start getting a poster campaign together from creatives to send in posters about Stop Hate, whether it be Asian hate or, anti-Black or anti-gay. And we got a nice partnership with a big outdoor media company. And so all these posters that have been done, we are now streaming them in major centers, because creativity can make a change, and we want the community to help out and put out posters and stuff like that, just to make people aware. So that's what we're doing. It's rather than just, put a little thing on your website or put out a press release, what are you actually going to do? Because initially, the first thing we did when George Floyd got killed was, we donated to an organization to help, fight against police brutality. But it has to be deeper than that. Giving money is one thing, but how are you actively as an organization or as a brand going to help bring about change? Yeah.
I think it comes down to passion for change, right? So there's there's a lot of organizations who go, we need to be seen doing something. And there's a very big difference between we need to be seen doing something to generally, we have a passion for this and we're going to actively use our resources to engage in this and ensure that we create change. Speaking about organizations are doing this, and you mentioned that you have a trans member of staff and some of the challenges that the community has as trans and non-binary people as well. There's a great example from MasterCard that you shared. So I just want to share this with everyone so we get this in as well. Let's have a look at this.
So I handed him my credit card.
Look down, look back up at me.
Oh, wait, so you're really a girl?
If we see you again, you know, we're basically gonna kick your ass.
My friends were like, the guy has a knife.
And I was like really paranoid about it, and it really fucked me up.
MasterCard will now allow transgender people to use their chosen names on credit card.
In an effort to fight discrimination, the company is introducing the True Name Card.
That means the name on the credit card owned by a transgender person may be different than what's on their birth certificate or driver's license.
So we said we're going to go out and announce this anyway and show them the impact that this would actually have.
And be like, oh, that's me, that's Nolan, that's like who I am.
What I find so interesting about this campaign, Kevin, is, and Nike's done such amazing work. And this is also amazing, but in a different way. This speaks actually to the core business model of the brand, because this is a financial services brand, a category where there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of challenges. And despite all of that, they went, we understand the challenges of the industry and in terms of our core business model, but we understand that the challenges in society for trans and non-binary people far supersede anything that we can experience on the financial side. And that's the little things that people may have missed out, is that they improve their security in other areas to make sure that there wouldn't be any issues. But something as simple as allowing somebody to choose and put their own name on a card rather than the one that you signed at birth makes such a big difference into the way you're able to navigate this world and your quality of life in general.
Yeah, I must say that this particular piece really speaks to me, you know, in so many ways. Firstly, my youngest son actually worked at McCann, who was he wasn't part of the team who did that, but he was very well connected to the team who did that. And the other thing is my daughter is trans, and you know, for me to see this and understand the challenges that she goes through, this is just an incredible piece of work, and it just speaks of how a brand can actually impact people's lives and make a change, make a huge difference. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to read quickly. I haven't had a chance to read this, but from Jabulani Sigege says, "Hi, Kevin. It's great to hear the insights coming from your exposure to global creativity. Based on your access to being able to see creative work from around the world on a constant basis, which countries and or regions do you think have found or got a distinct voice, as in they're able to tell their unique stories and find solutions to their problems that still somehow manage to feel universally familiar and relevant?" Great question, because I didn't read that before reading it out. So great question, Jabulani.
So it's really interesting, because I think that each region is very different. Because when I look at work, and I have to say, and it's not just me, just, you know, blowing smoke up everybody's whatever out in South Africa and the likes. I mean, I look at South African work, and the creativity in South Africa is just incredible. And that was one of the frustrations I had when I came to the US. And I was like, because when I've been there 24 years this year, and when I first got to the US, and it was predominantly a US entered show. And I was like, this is bullshit. It's like, I come from South Africa. We have the best advertising in the world. You know, it's like, we should be, you know, doing a major thing, part of the One Show. And so I actually made it my mission to really expand the One Show all those years ago, and traveled the globe, speaking and really getting people to enter. When I have a look at the South African advert, you know, heralding back to, you know, the things that I used to know is like, you know, Cremora and, you know, Nando's and stuff like that. It's like there is such a great personality behind the South African work, which is just true to the region. But then you go to India, and it's incredible, because you'll see work coming out of India, which is just like it couldn't come out of anywhere else. You know, it's colorful, and it's got its own personality. It's got that sort of Bollywood style to it, you know, and it's beautiful and awesome, but it could only come out of India. And then if you go even further to the sort of the crazy side of it, if you go to Thailand advertising is insane. It is the most crazy, wackiest stuff you've ever seen. But that's how Thai people are, and it's their personality, you know. So I mean, I love the question, and I love seeing the different personalities behind the work. And then you get sort of the Brits, you know, but you can see the work where it comes from. The one thing that we like to do is certainly have representation on the juries. One, when we pick a jury, it has to be as close to 50% gender balanced. So we want, you know, all representation. We want representation from different regions and different nationalities. So we very, very carefully curate the jury, making sure that there's a balance of gender, there's a balance of international and local American. So yeah, culturally, people need to be really wide open and open to understand and realize that what you've seen, you might not really understand, because it comes from a different region. And I've actually had that once before, many, many years ago. I was in a room and there was actually a piece that was played, and it was a cricket ad out of India. And I was so pissed off that the judges dinged it. And I actually said to them, like, you guys don't understand this. Like, one, you don't even understand that there's a bat with a flat edge, not just a round baseball bat, okay? Now, you've got to start thinking differently, you know, and open your mind to culturally in India, cricket is bigger than American football and, you know, baseball combined. It's like they live and breathe this stuff. Anyway, I'm going off again, but I had to jump in and say, like, you guys are missing this. You got to understand the relevance, you know, in that region. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think that the thing is, when you watch advertising from around the world, what you're really realizing is, in a strange way, it's a distilled experience of that society. In those 30 seconds or 60 seconds, whatever you're consuming out there, if it's on film or even if you're looking at a print ad, regardless of what it is, it's really just that culture, that society, and the way that culture navigates life and the challenges of life in those various areas in a very distilled form. So if you watch a nappy ad, I started my career in nappies, always think about it, or a hair care ad, which I started my career in hair care as well. I did a lot of hair care ads, and you won't guess it now.
But you started a nappy ad. Well, you know what? In America,
I
don't know what the hell you're talking about. They're diapers. They're not nappies. They're diapers. It's like, you see, that's the exact case in point. It's like, so here's a funny thing. It's like, you know, I had some staff over to a party. It was a Super Bowl party, and they said, well, just give us directions to get out. I said, yeah, go down the street at the robot, turn left. About 5 minutes later, I get a call like, I'm looking for the robot. Where's the robot? It's like, you know, culturally, we are just so different, you know. But anyway, you've got to just open your mind up to different cultures and different, trends and regions.
And therefore, I think, yeah, one of the most important things is, if anyone's on this call, and thank God for YouTube and platforms like that, just go and watch as many ads from around the world as possible, because sometimes it's just so insightful in just understanding how that society just navigates some of the challenges that we have. And you'd look at the same category in different countries of the world with totally different ideas and nuances in the way that's actually executed. And there's something really beautiful in that. It's beautiful that we all live the same experience, but have a different way of navigating those experiences.
So one of the things I'd like to also talk about is, I saw this ad from Australia where, and I never realized the problem, but here a creative team really identified a massive problem. So everybody's going now to digital currency. Okay, so you've got your phone and you walk into a store and you like tap and go, so you don't keep change in your pocket. So it's one of these things where organizations that rely on people donating to a cause or to help out a situation, people in the street, who's asking for, a couple of coins. Well, you just don't have coins anymore. Like I can't even remember the last time I heard a jingle of coins in my pocket. And so what was really interesting is this team out of FCB, actually, no, it wasn't. It was out of Saatchi & Saatchi in Australia. They turned around and they said, well, why don't we actually change and make a dollar, change the currency, change what the dollar looks like, and make a donation dollar. So when you get this thing as change from somebody, you can actually put it back into society and actually donate. So it'll be top of mind and top of awareness. When you see this coin that looks different, if you receive it back in change somewhere, that you should think about using this to donate to somebody. Remarkable creative solution to a problem that I didn't even realize, but it stands out now that is endemic around the world.
Amazing. Let's show that example. We have, if no one minds us running, do you mind if we run like 2 or 3 minutes over time, Kevin?
I'm good if it's good with you guys.
Okay, so let's share this, because I think it's such an amazing example. And if we have, let's have a look at this really, really quickly.
The digital revolution has changed currency forever. Unfortunately, carrying less coins in our pockets has unintended consequences. In Australia, many of our charities rely on coin donations, as do the most disadvantaged among us. As a society, we need to reconsider how we use the coins we do have. Introducing Donation Dollar, the world's first legal tender currency designed to be donated, not spent. Created by the Royal Australian Mint, with one minted for every Australian, creating 25 million reminders to give over and over for the duration of the coin's 30-year lifespan. The more it's given, the more the ripples of impact are revealed. Launched on International Day of Charity 2020 as a daily reminder that we all have the power to help those in need. Endorsed by over 50,000 Australian charities, celebrities, and the entire nation.
This is a way to remind us to give back to those in need.
If you end up with one of these coins in your hand, why not throw it in our donation dollar? Every single one counts.
Inspiring generosity for generations to come.
From today, you may find a new coin in your pocket.
The donation dollar is part of a world-first initiative.
It's a reminder, why don't you go and donate that dollar to a great charity?
The Mint has begun pressing around one for every Aussie.
Donation Dollar, the small coin made to make a difference.
And I think that's such a great example, because whenever you look at an old problem and you think there cannot be a new solution to that problem, It's amazing. And I think this is what this example reminds us is every problem, even if it's old, even if it's something that or even a new one that's come up, there's always a solution and there's always a better way of tackling it. And that's what's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, I've got to just say that just proves to you that creativity can really solve some of the greatest problems the world has. And you guys out there and girls and, creatives, you've got the opportunity to really make impact and make change. So get out there, get those creative juices going, and love to see what you can create. And love to see you guys awarded in both the ADC and the One Show this coming year.
Okay, amazing. Thanks so much for joining us, Kevin. Kevin, we've run out of time. Really appreciate your time. I was really hoping to get to the Tampon book by Schultz and Friends. So if anyone, if you want to go look at another ad after this Tampon book, go have a look and look at that case study. I found that amazing, amazing, amazing. I wish we had time to go through that.
All right.
But thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate your time and really appreciate chatting to you again, and look forward to doing this again, hopefully again soon.
Awesome, Preetesh. Cheers, guys, and enjoy. Good luck with the Loeries. Wishing you guys success, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Amazing. And I think, yeah, the biggest lesson is that creativity is a big job, and all of us need to do our part across the world, wherever we are. So, it's something we can all do together. So appreciate this partnership and this being able to come together and just share these insights to our region. So thank you so much to you and everyone at the One Club. And to everyone who joined us, really appreciate your time. Sorry I couldn't get through some of the questions that were out there, but it was an action-packed session. So appreciate all of you. We'll see you next week, and have a good week further. Kevin, cheers. All the best. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.